Good morning, everyone. I
Hi.
am here with Devi, who is the owner and operator of Anataoasis. Let's
Hello.
see if we can hear you, Devi.
Hi.
I cannot hear you.
Aunt.
Let's see.
That's wild. I don't know what to do. Okay.
All right. So,
Yeah. What about now?
gosh, I can still hear you.
Okay, you can hear me?
Yeah.
Yay. What do you mean still? I thought you couldn't.
Oh, a second ago I could hear you.
Oh,
But so,
perfect.
anyway, welcome everybody to a lavish conversation with Devi. Devi, as I said, is the owner and operator of Anataoasis. And she just has an inspiring story that I thought would be really, really good to share. Lavish Conversations, as you know, are conversations with inspiring people about why existing is not enough. And Devi has a very inspiring story, I feel. So, Devi, introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hello, guys. Oh my gosh. My name's Devi Mullendor. I am 26 years old. I am a meditation and mindfulness teacher. I've been practicing and studying meditation for about since 2014. I implemented it when I started going to college. I was really stressed out. So I started doing it daily. I started seeing the effects, and the rest was history. Like, I really, really love the practice. And yeah, that's a little about me.
So, when you started meditating, what made it kick off? Like, did somebody introduce you to it, or what made you?
So, my mom's from India, and um, I'm so happy to be here today. But okay, so my mom's from India, and I've always just been really intrigued with the practices that come from India. And yeah, I took a World Religions of the East class in college, and they talked a little about meditation. And so I just got really curious about it. So I started researching it and doing it, and I had really, really bad anxiety. So when I started doing it and actually seeing the effects of like where my mind would go, and like how to not only quiet my mind but redirect my thoughts, yeah, I just fell in love with the practice.
I
The
find that when that's
Yeah.
one of the most biggest misconceptions that people that keep people from meditating is that you're supposed to have a quiet mind. Yes, that's the goal, but whose mind is quiet?
Exactly.
So you're going to have thoughts. Like you have to have grace with yourself.
And I always tell people that. I always say, your brain's not just going to shut off because you want it to. We're constantly thinking. Our thought patterns are always changing. They're always going, but it's all about redirecting your mind. Pay
Right.
attention to those thoughts, but also moving it back into the present moment and not becoming those thoughts.
Right, definitely. And that brings me to kind of why we did this show today. So,
Yeah.
this is my second lavish conversation that I've done, but I chose to do this lavish conversation specifically and today specifically. I didn't really share this with Devi, I don't think, but I chose today because today is the 1 year anniversary of the passing of my son.
Mm-hmm.
And Devi was brought into my life by the universe um, at a retreat that I went to in Hawaii um, immediately the week after my son's funeral. So, of course, in the most difficult, the most dark time that I've run into, I must say, I was able to run into such a light soul, such a light being. But the craziest part is she was in the darkest part of her own life. You know what I mean? And so I feel like we were definitely brought together at that time in our lives so that we could not only lean on each other, because we lean on each other, but what I appreciate about your friendship is that we lift each other up. You know what I mean? So, even though I might not let you all the time, but I might do the protest drop, when you're trying to lift me up. But it's the effort that counts. So yeah, I just wanted to share that definitely because that was a pivotal moment for me in going from existing to living, because I didn't see at that time a way that I could live, in all honesty.
I think for both of us, it was a really beautiful moment when so not only were we both hesitant to go on that trip because we were at such dark parts of our lives or dark moments in our lives, when we shared it in front of everybody, is that when we got that, oh my goodness, like we were supposed to be here at this time, like this is synchronicity like no other, because we were hiding it for a while, like we didn't tell the group, but then finally I
Mhm.
think I said, guys, like I'm so happy to be here, but like this is a really dark, and then I shared what happened, like my husband just passed away
Right.
and I wasn't going to come, and you spoke up and was like, no way, you're my roommate and I'm dealing with death too, and death is just so hard, and for us to be dealing with death at the same time
Mm-hmm.
in the same room.
And how many people were there on the trip?
We had 13 altogether, but we were
All together, and the two of us ended up being the only two
roommates. Yeah.
experiences, and it ended up being roommates, and we were randomly, put together. But it was such a blessing, and I can't tell you. So I don't like people all the time in my space. So it's not the easiest thing for me to know that I'm gonna have a roommate, not just somebody in your room, but somebody sleeping and staying and living and all that stuff. And I don't even know who it is. So I was a little anxious about that, especially being that I was in such a fragile state. But
Mhm.
when you ended up being my roommate, it was just so meant to be, so God sent. You know what I mean? Honestly. And you have been a
Yeah.
God ever since. So tell me a little bit about, what you did to go from existing to living. When in your life, my premise is that everybody has these moments in their life, more than one most of the time, where you realize you're just existing and you have to make a conscious effort to start living. And so whatever that means for you, whether that means follow your dreams, which may be, going to be a bricklayer, or it may be going to, be an opera singer. Saturday I'm supposed to be doing a conversation with my cousin, actually, who lives in Germany, but he came from Sea Pleasant, Maryland. And
Oh.
these conversations, I want us to make each other more aware
Yeah.
about the conscious decision that you have to make from going, to live each day and not just be out here existing. And sometimes you can become complacent and then start realizing, oh shoot, I'm just existing again. Like the bills are all paid, you know what I mean? I have a job, I'm good, but what effect am I making? What purpose driven life am I existing in?
Hmm.
And so that, again, your business.
Yeah. So when I moved from living to existing, I mean, existing to living. So what happened was I was just surviving. I was going through the motions. I was eating, sleeping, doing my day to day life activities. But when my husband died, I had to ask the question, who am I? For
Mhm.
6 years, all I knew was my husband and who are we, and
Very young. I mean, I know people, we all age very gracefully and all that good stuff, but you literally are 2 years older than my oldest child.
yeah, yeah. And like
Yeah.
scary. It was really scary because I mean, you have this entire life planned with your spouse and then they disappear physically. And it was such a scary question because I didn't know who I was. Like I asking myself, who am I, was very frightening. It was very frightening because I didn't know. But that's when the light bulb switched in my head and I began to start living because I started finding myself with my sole purpose and actually doing the things that I loved, finding what I loved again. And that was a beautiful process because there was a lot of things I kind of put on the back burner because I had to, do a lot of things to I had to make a lot of sacrifices because he was in the military. So there was
Right.
a lot I couldn't do. And yeah, so just starting my business fully and just like actually eating to nourish my body, not just eating to fulfill my time, you know, like taking the time to show gratitude for everything that I love. Gratitude is a big part of my healing journey because as much as I wanted to look at what I didn't have anymore because he was gone, giving thanks for all of the wonderful things that I had in my life or that I have was a big part of me becoming who I am and helping other people. Like, I mean, I started actually using the pain that I was going through to help others
Mm-hmm.
their best life and get out of their darkness, because when you're in darkness, you don't want to sit in that, because what's on the other side is so beautiful. When we get through that dark spot in our lives, once we get through that turmoil, there's a beautiful, beautiful other side that we need to embrace and get to. So I really appreciated that part of my life. And I am so thankful that I started living my best life and fully embracing who I am and what I have to
The
offer.
things you do, sorry to interrupt you, what are some of the things you do to ensure that you are living your best life, that you're actually doing that living?
Yeah, meditating, going to the gym now. Like, I never was working on my physique, going to the gym, eating healthy, implementing my meditations into businesses that need it, doing charity work, whether it's for dogs or children, like just things that society needs. So helping in society is how I help myself.
Mm-hmm. Being a part of that ripple effect.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
a lot of people, so people, we're on this big self-care wave, and I'm definitely, I'm the biggest proponent of self-care. But I think people are a bit confused about self-care being
Mm,
selfish. You know what I mean? And
yeah.
self-care should be about, self-discipline and
Mm,
treating yourself appropriately, not so much, oh, you don't do for others, or you aren't giving, or you aren't pouring positivity out into the world. Like, you do those things because that's what you want to see in the world. You know what I mean?
I guess you could look at it as a little selfish, because there is, like, when I was just surviving, when I was just existing, I was doing everything for everyone else in a sense of like not taking care of myself and giving myself what I needed.
Mhm.
So there are times I say no now, and that might look selfish, but it's not. It's me actually taking time to do what I want to do.
Things
And
that somebody said in the chat, things that society needs, that's a sign of awareness. That's very true. That's
yeah.
very true. Like, you, until you realize that you are not just you,
Hmm.
you don't really have that awareness, and that emotional intelligence that you develop from that awareness is even bigger, because then you can see why people do the things they do, why people may say the things they say. Don't take things so personally, you know what I mean? And you're able to grow in that. And
Hmm.
we all know, if you're not growing,
I'm actually reading a book right now. It's called One Mind by Larry Dossey, and it's amazing. It's literally talking about we are one mind, we are one collective, and until we understand that I am you and you are me, and we are not separate,
hmm,
we won't understand that how powerful we are together. Like, we are so powerful, but we get separated by so many things in the society, and it shouldn't be that way. We are one, and we need to start acting as that, because we are powerful.
right, exactly. One of my favorite verses to quote. I don't really quote the Bible a whole lot, but I like to quote, certain things that people don't pay attention to more so in the Bible that I've learned, and that is my favorite. That is that the verse that, God, love your neighbor as yourself, right?
Mm-hmm.
But God felt like He didn't need to tell you to love yourself. That was supposed to be a given. You know
Mm-hmm.
what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And you're supposed to love your neighbor. Of course, you love yourself. You have to take care of yourself, take care of your home. Think about it. If I don't take care of my home and I have garbage everywhere, and,
Mm-hmm.
I don't bathe, and I don't, whatever, I don't pay for my utilities, things of that nature, just, self care, then imagine what it does to my neighbors. You know what
Mm-hmm.
I mean? Am I a loving neighbor? We have raccoons and rats everywhere, like, just because of my house. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
It's just the smallest premise, and it's not spoken, but it's spoken.
Yes. And I started to notice that, like, in my darkest times, the best thing that I could do was give people the light, the little light that I have inside of myself. So, like,
Hmm.
it was so easy too. Like, I was really broken. I was really sad, but it's like when I would go out into society, I would just get this big smile, and I just wanted them to see the little light. Just because if I could just spark a little bit of joy inside of them, even though I'm hurting, I did my deed for the day. Like, and
That's
it
so
sparked
funny you say that.
joy inside of myself. It's so weird. Like, not weird, but it's beautiful. Like, how I can do that. I'm so grateful and thankful that the universe has put that inside of me, because even when I'm sad, giving somebody that light that I have is just so
Mhm.
healing to me.
And the kicker is God made us all, God, whoever you believe in, whatever you want to call the
Mhm.
Jehovah, the universe, the light, something made us. We were made. But we all know that we were created with lightness and darkness. So we all have that light in us that we could pull from. You know what I'm saying? Today is one of the most sad days of my life. I can't lie. You know what I mean? But I have a choice, in all honesty. I have a choice whether I will externally, express that sadness, and teach my body, kind of program my body based off of every time I feel that emotion to break down and be sadness and be in a place of, um, inoperableness, and instead I'm choosing to, I do anything I think of at this time. That's part of my healing journey. And so one of the things that I've done is try to reach for that light in me and
Mhm.
honestly, laugh through, smile through my pain until smiling is what I feel. You know what I mean? So I laugh. I do, silly videos. I do anything, just whatever I think of doing, hanging out with my girls. I mean, my daughters, when I say my girls, but, whatever, my girls too. But whatever it is that comes to mind, painting a picture, meditating, spending time with myself. A lot of people believe, we should be out, we pray, but we forget about taking time to sit back and listen. And I feel
Yes.
like that's where the meditation point comes in. If you are made in God's image, if you are full of all this greatness that you feel that you say you are, then why would you not want to hear
Exactly.
really going on once you quiet out all the outside noises? Not so much quieting yourself, quiet the outside noise and
Mhm.
just sit with yourself, sit with your emotions, and develop that, like I said, emotional intelligence so that you can make sure you're not existing and you are living.
Well, we're in a society where we have so many things to run off to. We don't like to just sit with ourselves. We want to drink, we want to go party, we want to do
Scroll.
that. It's like, and we want to get on social media. But to, once we really take the time to deal with our emotions right there, it's going to be easier. So people don't understand, when you run from all of your pain and suffering, it's going to come back. Whatever's done in the
Got
darkness
you.
comes to light. That is emotionally as well, because whatever you try to hide and run away from, it's going to come back full throttle. It's going to hurt too. It's going to
Right.
hurt. So dealing with those emotions right then and there, when you feel it and not running from it, is so important.
And
It's
not sitting in it though either. Feel it
yeah,
and move past it.
exactly.
We talked about that on the retreat. Remember, we talked about the touch and go as opposed to, touching and holding on to things. And, how are you supposed to keep moving if you're holding on to what's in the past? So, I mean, it's definitely unfortunate that, I have to learn this life without my son,
Mhm.
and you have to learn this life without your husband. Like they had their lights in them. You feel what I mean? So
Mhm.
that's what we're missing and what we're connecting and thinking about. But I feel like the best way that we can honor them and what they would have said if they could say a word on their way out to us, I feel like their word would be live.
Mhm.
I really do. Like my son and I used to have so many conversations, right, about suicide and stuff like that because he'd been suicidal before, and the fact of the matter is we always used to have this statement about making permanent decisions based on temporary circumstances,
Mm-hmm.
you know. And I feel like that's what we do oftentimes in life, you know, and we make these decisions to not do anything,
Mm-hmm.
to just exist,
Mm-hmm.
let life happen to us
Mm-hmm.
instead of happening to life.
And also, another thing I think that they would want us to think about is not only, I think they would want us to think about what we had with them. So many times during death, we think about them not being here, which is true. Physically, they're not here, but all of the memories and wonderful moments we had with them is what brings me through it a little more. Like it makes it a little easier. Is I got so many beautiful moments with my husband that I'll never forget about.
I
Memories
can't lie,
of
that's the hardest part for me, for real.
really.
With my son, thinking about memories. So we have a very, me and my children have a very weird dynamic. We're
Mm-hmm.
like parent siblings. You know what I mean? Like I'm their mother, definitely, but I'm also silly in my own right. So my silliness is automatically connected with them, you know? So therefore, when I think of crazy things that happened, like that time that, you know, such and such shaved their eyebrow off and we had to find out at, you know, the altar after communion. Um, when I think of things like that, then I want to call or text or, you know what I mean? Things, you know, that type of thing. So that definitely hits me a little bit, but I feel like that's something I have to work on.
Yeah, yeah. Yes, I mean, I guess I didn't look at it in that sense, but yeah, for me, it really helps me get through the days. Like for his birthday last Wednesday, it was a really hard day. It was his birthday, and it was the first birthday without him, and I didn't know how the day was gonna go. But the only thing that like kept me going was we had this memory where I made a crab boil, and we sat on the floor to eat this crab boil because it was super messy, and I just remember we were sucking this crab out of this crab boil, and he was like, "Is this what a crackhead feels like?" And I was like, "Oh my God." I'm literally like mouth deep inside the crab leg, and I'm like, "Dude, maybe." So when he so on his birthday, I was like, I have to go get crab legs. And I literally made it a thing to where I went to go get those crab legs and I sucked that crab leg and I sucked that crab out of that crab leg just like we did on that floor. And it brought so much joy in my heart because that was one of my favorite memories. And you don't think like at the time that little things like that, you're going to look back and that's going to be the memory that like gets you through that day. Like, but it
Right. Well, let me tell you, okay, let me see, my silliest memory would probably, oh gosh, be the time that, which time though? The time that Madison hit Jeremiah. They were taking pictures because they were going to do a YouTube channel together, right? Because everybody used to mistake them for twins. And so they're taking pictures, and she has this rock in her hand, and they're posing, and she's like, and Madison is the most accident prone child ever. So we should have known what was going to happen next, right? And
yeah,
Madison has the rock in her hand. This fool lets go in one of the pictures and throws the rock at Jeremiah.
oh my goodness.
But the reason it's one of my silliest memories is because it reminds me of all the times that I
Yeah.
watched my son, who definitely, you know, was not a pushover, let any little kids, girls, you know what I mean? He definitely was like, oh, beat up on me. Ah, you can, you know what
Oh,
I mean? And those are like the sweetest times, you know. I do remember those. And that is a silly, funny memory.
that's beautiful. I love it.
So, in closing, because we're about to wrap up, what would you like to share with our audience? What words would you say are on your heart about existing versus living?
Be mindful of yourself. Do the things that you love. And if you don't know, just start doing things. Just start looking up things that you think would be interesting and going to do them because we only have one life to live. live it to the fullest. And I know that sounds cliche, but it's so true. It's so true. One thing my husband always did is he bought the most expensive stuff. He ate the most like, and I would get an attitude. But you know what? Now that he's gone, I'm like, kudos to you. Like, for your last meal to be the biggest steak on the menu is the coolest thing ever.
I'm
Like,
just saying.
so do what, no, but seriously, like, do what you love and don't hold back and don't listen to other people. Don't listen to what society says that you're supposed to be doing. No, live for you.
I love that, definitely.
Mm-hmm.
So we both want to, well, first off, thank you for joining us. We want to encourage you to make sure you're not just out here existing. Get
You
out here
start
and
living.
start living. Existing is not enough.
No, it's not enough.
Make your self care a requirement today because you are not an option.
Yes. Say
Thank you. See you
out.
next time. Check out Anataoasis. Where can they find you?
So you can find me on Instagram, Anataoasis.
Spell that.
I also have a website, anataoasis.com. And yeah,
See
we're
you
the
for the next Lavish Conversation. See you all Saturday at 12.
love
I love you.
you so much. Bye.
Bye bye.